All right, so it's early Monday morning. I've got about an hour before I have to be at Evil Corp, and I'm not looking forward to going to work at all. I did absolutely nothing of any fun this weekend, and I am pretty angry about that because the more time you spend on the weekend doing nothing, becoming more angry and disgruntled at the world, the harder it is to go into work. So this morning when I woke up and I saw this comment from Frankie, I didn't actually read it. I knew it was good, and I tossed it into Chat GPT, and it gave me the title, Are You Just Corporate Lubricant? And I thought to myself, whatever's in this comment, it must be good enough to make a video about, because I just have that feeling sometimes. And with that said, let's get into today's monologue. You ever get the feeling that your job doesn't actually see you as a person? Like, not even a cog in the machine, just the grease that keeps it running, used up, worn out, replaced without a second thought. The higher ups don't want thinkers. They don't want people who care. They want lubricant that makes the gears turn smoother. No matter how many bodies it takes, and the second you slow down, ask for more, or start breaking under the pressure, they dump you and open a fresh bottle of lube. That's how I've always felt at every job I've ever been at my entire life. I've never felt useful. I've never felt like I mattered. I never felt like anything. I just felt like I was going in to do the same thing over and over again. And no matter what I did, it wasn't enough. No one cares about you. No one thinks about you. And every year that you don't get a raise, you think about leaving. But then what thought comes into your head? I'm just going to a different plantation. That's all I ever think about. So remember, before we get into our talking points, remember to subscribe, donate, leave a like, or even better, leave a comment, just like Frankie did here. All right, so let's get straight into our talking points. We have 4 talking points today, and they are all very good. Corporations don't see you as a person. Employees are not assets, they are expenses. Every time you ask yourself, why is this happening to you? Remember that the company doesn't see you as a necessary evil, it just sees you as evil. You're a person that's going to come to work, require a salary, require medical insurance, require time off. And once you break because you don't have enough money to support yourself, inevitably all of us get to the point where we can no longer do it. You're going to wake up one day and realize I can't go back to that job because the job isn't really a job. It's just McDonald's. No matter how many times you go back to McDonald's, it's always going to be the same thing. Hamburgers thrown in your face, drinks slammed on the counter, and customers looking at you like you're the most disgusting piece of crap that's ever existed. I know that look. When I worked in retail, the look of the customers for how pathetic they thought you were with your name tag, your funny hat, and your uniform, knowing full well that you're making the minimum wage and you can't afford to work there. That's the look I loved from customers. The straight up knowing you can't afford to work this job. And corporations know that very well. None of their employees can afford to work there. They are all suffering the indignity of extreme poverty. And guess what? You're not a human being like them, or else they wouldn't treat you like this. You're a sick, disposable asset that they're just waiting for you to break. And just like driving along on the road in your Promobile and suddenly all 4 of your tires go flying in different directions and you're on the ground wondering what just happened. That's how proles are to the corporation. They're waiting for all your tires to come flying off so that they can push you out of the way and bring in a fresh new prole to serve Happy Meals. Don't get it twisted. They will never see you as anything more. Unless you're an executive or higher, you don't matter in the workforce. Meaning the 99% don't matter at all. They are 100% replaceable. And when you think about people not doing lower tier jobs, they'll always find someone more desperate than you to do that job. I've come to that conclusion. I've been in this job for 3.5 years, and they just can't find someone desperate enough to replace me. Because if they could, they would have for half the price. But that's a story for another day. Let's move on to talking point number 2. The best employees aren't the smartest. Ever wonder why your boss seems out of touch? It's because they've trained themselves to see employees as numbers, not people. That's what I've never understood. I've had 5 managers in 3 years, and every senior manager's only managed to stay in that position for roughly 9 months. Very few have made it to the full year, but exactly on the year to the dot, they get fired. And every one of them knows that it's impossible to do that job. And the worst part is it's impossible to do that job at what they're willing to pay. But people keep applying for that job. People keep taking that job. And I know that the current senior manager, is probably getting close to his end. In fact, the last senior manager got fired 4 days from today. He actually got fired on Valentine's Day of last year. So on Friday of last year, the senior manager came to an end. They went about 3 months before someone just got transferred into that position that was completely unqualified. And that person has slowly shown that they are failing at that job because nothing is getting done the way that they want it to get done. And the longer that the job isn't getting done as it's supposed to go, every time that it's not going as well, you're getting docked a point. And eventually you run out of points. So that person, even though they know their end is coming soon, is still going to take out as many other workers as they can on their way out. Because that's what managers do. The boss is going to throw everyone under the bus that they can as they scratch and scrape trying to hold on to their position for as long as they can. But the joke's on them. Regardless of how terrible of a human being are, they're not going to save themselves. Talking point number 3. The workplace isn't a machine. It's a meat grinder. Companies don't invest in their workers because you're not meant to last. That's so true. When you get hired on at Evil Corp, they don't plan on you staying there long term. In fact, they ensure that you don't stay there long term and become a more expensive piece of crap because they make the workplace so uncomfortable that you don't want to stay there. They make it nearly impossible for you to access your benefits. Sure, you may have paid time off, but when you put in a request, it has to come in 2 weeks prior, it has to be approved, and it can be denied for any reason, including your boss doesn't like you. In fact, that's been one of the main reasons why a lot of my requests have been denied. It's like, oh, you just can't be off on those days. That's why a long time ago I came to the conclusion that if I'm going to take any time off, it has to be around the time where my boss isn't here. And that would be during the holiday season. If he's not here, then I don't have to ask him and I can just submit my requests and not have to have them approved. Because the rest of the year, they're just going to find some reason to not give you time off. Because the great thing about offering benefits when they hire you is, sure, they're on paper, but they don't exactly have to honor that. It's the same way that when you go into a job interview and they tell you that this is your job, and then you start the next day and you find out that that was only a fraction of what you were expected to do. And overtime, well, guess what? It's not optional. You will get your work done because at the end of the week, if you tell them it's too much work, they're going to look over your shoulder and wonder why you can't get your job done. This has been done to me on many occasions where they ask, why isn't the work getting done? And you tell them it's too much work, and they insist that the last guy was doing it. Why can't you do it? Well, the last guy isn't here anymore because he had a nervous breakdown. And so they want to make certain that you feel undervalued at every time. Job insecurity is part of every single job. Having financial problems is part of working at McDonald's. The only thing that you're guaranteed from working at McDonald's is that you're going to get a Happy Meal toy every single day as a way of motivating you and making you feel guilty about not working harder. I can't stand those toys in my workplace. They disgust me. And if I could, I'd throw every single one of them away. It's like the monopoly money that some jobs offer their workers with a company logo on it that you can use at the commissary to buy things like popcorn or ramen or a piece of candy. At the end of the day, they make us all feel like children. Because in their eyes, we're not people, we're children. Children that have to be underpaid, belittled, and forced into wearing their clothes. Because they can't, a uniform goes to show that you don't trust your employees to show up at work in professional attire. That's why the uniform was created, to show that you are a child at work. Other than that, I can't think of another good reason why you would humiliate a 30-year-old man in a chicken costume. Every uniform in America to me is some version of a chicken costume. You show up, you put on your chicken costume, and people get to laugh at you because that's what people do at people who work low-level jobs. If you're making $20 or below, people are laughing at you because they don't understand why any adult human being would take a job like that. No one understands why people work at McDonald's other than sheer desperation of working there. There is no other reason for working there other than you need money and you need money now. Other than that, no one would ever work a job like that. Talking point number 4. If you're just a lubricant, then use the system before it uses you. Instead of loyalty, treat your job as a stepping stone. I love comments like this. Do you know why? Because they show the ignorance of people who say things like this. What am I possibly going to get out of working at all my minimum wage jobs? McDonald's isn't a stepping stone to anything. It's a place, it's like a placeholder in your life. Because all you're doing is you're going there and wasting time. You're not getting anything out of it. The pay sucks. The people who work there suck. The customers suck. And at the end of the day, you just go home smelling like a failed French fry. You come home, you change your clothes, and then you go to Burger King and do another 8-hour shift. You wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning the next day after sleeping 5 hours, and you're at it again. At the end of the week, you're exhausted. You're angry. You smell like rotten fast food. And you look at your 2 paychecks and it's not even enough for you to have a decent meal. That's what life is all about. Every job is fast food. And the worst part about this is that there's no escape. Your aptitude to do more limits the success, the financial success you're going to have in your life. And that to me is the hardest part about staying alive, is the fact that there's no escape. No pro's going to wake up today on a Monday morning and realize, you know what, I'm better than this job. We all tell ourselves that we're better than fast food. But at the end of the day, are you really? Because I know I'm not. I know that I don't have the ability to generate a high income. I don't know how to do anything. I don't know how to get out of the way of these crummy jobs that I don't like. I don't want to go to work today. I don't want to go to work tomorrow. I don't want to go to work next year. As I was telling the person working on my resume on Saturday, I don't want to work, and that's why I have no enthusiasm to look for work. I don't like working, and I will never like working, because working sucks, especially since you get practically nothing out of it. You just keep getting older and angrier every single day. That's all that work does, is it makes you angry. Because you look around at society at all the other losers, and they're not angry. They're not nearly angry enough about being forced into child-sized paychecks. Because soon, even that child-sized paycheck is going to look like a luxury as the economy worsens and worsens right before our eyes. Even that job serving burgers at McDonald's may soon become a luxury, like chicken, like the chicken sandwich you can't afford to buy anymore. And as more and more things slip between your fingers because they become luxuries like eating, you're going to look back at a time in which you wonder how much the world has changed in just a few years since the pandemic. The world has shown us the cruelty of what it is to be a low paid worker, an essential worker, that in the same word as being, in the same sentence as being essential, you're disposable. Millions of people aren't here anymore because they had to work. And millions of those same people didn't have health care because their employer wouldn't provide it to them by using sneaky tactics of making them part-time or only letting them work to a certain amount of hours. And then when you ask why they do that, they tell you straight to your face, we don't want to pay for health benefits. But at the same time, you don't qualify for any other government assistance because you're working. And the hardest thing is to get assistance is if you actually have a job. I found that out the hard way in this country. If you have any sort of employment, you're not going to qualify for anything. That's why low-level people won't take raises, because even 50 cents could cause you to go into a higher tax bracket or lose your benefits, because that's the way the system's designed, to make certain that it's constantly hurting you. In toxic positivity, though, I put this: at least you have a job, as if that's supposed to make exploitation feel better. This is what people tell you when you're at work and you're angry. They tell you that it could be worse, that you could be at a concentration camp, that you could be in a prisoner camp, that you could be in a re-education camp. But the reality is, it doesn't matter where you are. You're miserable, you're unhappy, chances are you're hungry, and you're nervous about paying your rent. There is nothing to be happy about to have a job. A job just means that you're being exploited. That's all a job is exploitation. You could remove the word job from every single job listing on the internet right now and just call it exploitation. Come be exploited at McDonald's, Amazon warehouse, Taco Bell. Come get exploited anywhere. This job comes with nothing, not even a hint of pink taco. And then when men refuse to participate in that system, you're considered a degenerate. Men that won't work are considered the lowest bit of the lubricant. They're the lubricant that falls on the floor and gets dirty, because men are supposed to sacrifice. That's the whole point of being a man, is that you're supposed to sacrifice yourself. And I'm like, for what? No pink taco, a miserable paycheck, and sadistic management at Evil Corp? I don't think so. It doesn't seem like there's any reason to sacrifice yourself other than pure stupidity. That's the way I see it. If you're willing to sacrifice yourself in this system, it's out of pure stupidity. Aside from that, there's no point in going to work. You're going to be poor whether you work or not. You can't afford to work. That's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. And with that said, I've got to get to Evil Corp. I know you guys are dying to get to McDonald's as well. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Thank you for stopping by and watching this video.